It was the 4th of February in the year 1875, and the snow lay deep in the gorges of the Gilmerton Mountains. The evening train, which connects the long line of coal mining and ironworking settlements, was slowly groaning its way from Stagville on the plain to Vermissa at the head of the Vermissa Valley, Pennsylvania. This is the most desolate corner of the United States of America.
Hobson's Patch, next stop.
The oil lamps in the leading passenger car shone down on some 20 or 30 people. At least a dozen, by their grimed faces and safety lanterns, proclaimed themselves as miners. The rest were women of the laboring class, local shopkeepers, 2 burly individuals in police uniform, and a young man, fresh-faced, large-eyed and smiling. A young man clearly of a sociable and possibly a simple disposition.
Pardon me, friend.
Are you speaking to me?
Did he say it was Vermissa next?
No.
I haven't missed it, have I? Vermissa.
You haven't missed it.
Ah, good. I thought I might have. It's a dark night.
What did you say?
It's a dark night.
And dark nights are unpleasant?
Yes, for strangers to travel.
Put it there, brother.
Brother.
Vermissa's another 2 stops.
Thank you, friend.
And the young man turned his grey eyes to the window and stared out into the night. The flames of furnaces roared and leapt in the darkness, and against their lurid background dark shapes were bending and straining, twisting and turning. Winch and windlass moving to the rhythm of an eternal clank and roar.
You know,
What?
I guess hell must look something like that.
The Valley of Fear by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, with Clive Merrison as Sherlock Holmes and Michael Williams as Dr. John Watson, Ian Glenn as John McMurdo, and Ronald Pickup as the narrator. Episode 1, The Scourers.
Holmes. What? Can't you find something else to occupy your mind?
Huh? If I could, you think I'd be doing this?
Very probably, yes. Isn't there anything in the post?
Haven't looked.
Why on earth not?
Because there's no point. Why should today be any different from yesterday or the day before or the day before that?
Oh, it's very logical. Look at the damn post. Nothing. No. Ah. You know, I'm inclined to think...
Are you? I can't say I've noticed.
Oh, for God's sake, Holmes. Just because you've had nothing to occupy you for a couple of weeks...
5
you
weeks.
don't have... All right, then 5 weeks. You still don't have to take it out on me.
5 long, sterile weeks in which the only intellectual problem that's presented itself is what fatuous interruption I can expect from you next.
No, you're not even making sense. If you've had nothing to think about, how can I have interrupted you? Dear God,
I must be the most long-suffering individual in London. Coffee?
No, thank you. Well, this morning, I do have something to think about.
So there was something in the post?
Yes.
Well, you're welcome.
What?
Nothing. Is it important? Holmes, the letter. Is it important?
Vitally important. It's Porlock's writing. I've only seen it twice before, but it's definitely Porlock's writing.
And who's Porlock?
Porlock is a nom de plume, an identification mark.
But beyond that?
I've no idea.
You know, I live in hope that one day we might actually have a normal conversation. You don't know who he is, and you've only seen his writing twice before, but you're behaving as if his letter's a matter of life and death.
Look.
Oh, you're sure I'm trustworthy enough? I'd hate to say something fatuous and... Holmes.
Interesting, isn't it?
534 C2 13 7 36 31. Holmes, what is this?
There's every chance it's exactly what you said it was. A matter of life and death.
You didn't tell me this was your stop too, brother.
Wait. Okay, now we can talk. You never know who's listening.
No, I guess not.
Brother Mike Scanlon, Lodge 341, Vermissa.
Brother John McMurdo, Lodge 29, Chicago, Bodymaster J.H. Scott. The clouds are heavy.
Yes, a storm is approaching.
I'm in luck to meet a brother so early.
There are plenty of us about in the valley. What brings you here?
I heard there was work for a willing man.
And there's none in Chicago.
No, I found plenty.
Then why did you leave?
Seemed like a good idea.
Where are you staying?
Here. Someone back home put me onto it. Jacob Shafter, Sheridan Street. You know it.
I know it. You'll find precious few brothers staying there. But I dare say it'll do you for now. I'll walk with you.
What's he like? This Jacob Shafter.
He's as honest a man as you'll find in this town.
Then laid on, brother.
This way.
They turned their faces into the freezing wind and walked together through the rutted paste of muddy snow that formed the main street of Vermissa. In the long and gloomy valley there had at least been a certain grandeur, but the town showed nothing but a dead level of mean ugliness and squalor.
Porlock isn't important in himself. It's the man he's in touch with who matters. Yes, imagine the jackal and the lion. No, or rather, yes, the pilot fish and the shark.
He works for a criminal.
But in truth, he's rather more on my side of the law than his master's, or on occasion, at least.
An informant. Not purely out of the goodness of his heart, presumably.
Watson, you're a cynic.
A realist.
Well, the occasional £10 notes found its way from me to him, yes. It was money well spent. This is advance warning of some devilry.
A string of numbers.
And one letter.
And 3 words. Douglas, Burlston, Burlston. What do you make of it?
534 C2 13 7 36 31 17 21 Douglas. Words on the page of a book.
You think so?
No doubt about it. It's Porlock's usual method.
Why are some words written out? Because he couldn't find them in print.
Exactly.
So, which book?
I don't know.
But without a title, we can't do a thing.
Watson, you have an unerring ability to keep us flat-footed on the ground.
This here's old man Shafter's place.
Thanks.
Well, I guess I'll be seeing you at the lodge.
Count on it.
Regular meeting's Friday. There's a hall behind the Union Saloon on Main Street. 9 o'clock.
Right.
But if you know what's good for you, you report to the bodymaster as soon as you can. Boss McGinty's the man. Councillor Jack McGinty. It's him who owns the saloon.
What's he like?
You never heard of Boss McGinty?
Oh, how could I? I'm a stranger in these parts.
I thought his name was known clear across the country. It's been in the papers often enough.
In the papers? What for?
Good God, man, what's the matter with you? Because of the Scourers.
What are the Scourers?
Are you joking with me, friend?
Why would I be doing such a thing?
You really don't know about the Coules?
Never heard the name before.
Well, you'll find out soon enough. Now listen, you take my advice. Report in as soon as you can.
I guess I'll settle in here first.
If you say so.
Excuse me. Good night, Brother Scanlon.
Good health to you, Brother McMurdo.
You forget your key again. Honestly, you'd lose your head. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, please, miss. Don't be apologising. That's as pleasing a shade of red as ever I've seen.
I thought you were my father.
No, that I'm not.
No.
So, would you be having a place by your hearth for a weary traveller?
534 C2 13. Will he send you the title?
By the next post. All we have to do is wait. All we have to do is wait. You know, you should be grateful for the code.
I should. Why?
Oh, because of the suspense. You can't deny. It makes for a better story.
And if you come when all the flowers are dying, and I am dead, as dead I well may be, you'll come and find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave there for me.
John McMurdo was a man who made his mark quickly. Wherever he was, the folk around soon knew it. When the honest foremen and commonplace clerks who were shaft as boarders gathered of an evening, it was McMurdo's jokes which were the readiest, his conversation the brightest, and his song the best.
And I shall hear, though soft, you tread above me, and all my dreams will warmer, sweeter be, for you will bend and tell me that you love me, and I shall sleep in peace until you come to me.
Thank you, Miss Shafter. That was as fine a bit of piano playing as I've heard.
Oh, Mr. McMurdo, that was so lovely. Wasn't that lovely, Father?
You sing like a bird, my friend.
Ah, not like the birds in Ireland, sir. In the old country, the angels themselves fly down when the birds are singing to take lessons. And sure, the hills are so fair and the lakes are so blue that they think they're still in heaven.
You make it sound so beautiful. Why did you ever leave to go roving?
Ah, no, that's a tale for another day. A story of wonder and wistfulness, so it is.
Promise you'll tell it to me sometime.
Would you really like to hear it? You wouldn't be fooling with me.
Oh, no. I wouldn't be fooling.
Miss Shafter, one day you'll know everything there is to know about me. I give you my word.
Was it because of a woman?
What was that now?
That you went adventuring. Did you leave behind a wife in County Monaghan?
A wife? No, I've no wife. Sure, I've never found the right Colleen. Not until now, that is.
No, don't say that.
What?
You mustn't. There's someone else.
What do I care about that? I love you, Etty.
But you've not been here a week. You can't be serious.
Yes, I can.
Oh, God, I don't know. John, I want to believe you. But I can't. I mustn't.
Etty, why are you so scared?
You mustn't ask me.
She's right to be scared.
Mr. Shafter?
And you should be scared too.
Damn!
What does he say?
It's too dangerous. He suspects me. Burn the code message, Porlock. Damn that man. Oh, how can he be so careless?
For God's sake, he might be in terrible danger.
Where's that first letter?
Oh, you threw it on the table here. Shall I burn it for you?
No!
But it's what he wants you to do.
I don't care. This is too important to drop.
But it's useless. We can't decode it.
Can't we?
My Eddie's already pledged to Ted Baldwin.
Who the devil's Ted Baldwin?
He's one of the Scourers.
The Scourers again. It seems to me in this town it's Scourers here and Scourers there, and always in a whisper. Who are these people?
They're a murder society.
What?
And when they don't murder, they maim and destroy. They make good men pay them for protection, and they arrange for accidents if the money's not there, regular as clockwork. Everyone knows it.
Everyone knows it? Then why haven't they been brought to justice?
No one dares to speak against them.
Well, I've never heard of these Scourers.
They also call themselves the Ancient Order of Freemen.
The Scourers are the Freemen?
So, you've heard of them at least.
Heard of them? Sure. I'm a member myself.
You?
And why shouldn't I be? The Ancient Order stands for charity and good fellowship.
In some places, maybe. Not here.
Show me your proof. There's no proof.
Someone to see you, McMurdo.
Who is it?
It's me, McMurdo. Mike Scanlon.
I'll be right there. Mr. Shafter, it's me brothers you're after insulting. You prove what you're saying, or you apologise.
You can find other lodgings in the morning, mister. And keep away from my daughter. Well, go and talk to your Scourer friend.
Why the devil haven't you reported to the Bodymaster?
I've been busy. Had to find a job.
Good Lord, man. You should have gone to him the minute you came here. You're a fool.
A fool, am I?
What's happened to you?
That's my affair.
Sure. No offence meant. But listen, don't set yourself against Boss McGinty, brother. Don't do it.
Will he be at the saloon now?
Oh, yes.
Right.
And the reference is to a book. That's our point of departure.
Pretty vague one.
Perhaps there are points which have escaped your Machiavellian intellect.
Perhaps there are limits to my patience.
If there were, I would have driven you to them years ago. A book. What clues do we have?
None.
No, it's not quite as bad as that. Now look here. How does it begin?
534, C2, 1310.
But the 534 is larger than the other numbers.
Yes, obviously.
No. Written larger.
Oh, I see. Yes, it
is, because 534 is the page number.
Holmes, if you know all the answers, why are we playing this
I don't know
game?
all the answers. I merely know how the code works, and this is no game.
All right, 534. So, our book's become a large book. C2. Chapter 2?
No, hardly. For one thing, if we have the page, the chapter number's immaterial. And for another, if page 534 only finds us in the second chapter...
Then the first must have been pretty intolerable. Column 2.
Brilliant, Watson. You're scintillating this morning.
A large book printed in double columns. Now, this man, Porlock, he wouldn't have used just any book. For the code to work, it had to be a book that you could lay your hands on.
Yes, he has a copy, and he expected me to have one too. In short, it's a very common book.
The Bible?
Now, too many different editions. Now, Porlock knew for certain that his page 534 would agree exactly with my page 534.
Bradshaw's railway timetables.
Bradshaw's vocabulary is nervous and tense, but somewhat limited. No, not really suitable.
Dictionary? No, there's too many different ones.
And what's left?
An almanac. Whitaker's Almanac.
Excellent, Watson.
The atmosphere of Councillor McGinty's saloon was blurred with tobacco smoke and heavy with the smell of spirits. The man himself was a black-maned giant, swarthy as an Italian, with eyes that were deep, dark, and dead.
Well, young man, I can't call your face to mind.
I'm new here, Mr. McGinty.
Not so new that you can't give a gentleman his proper title.
He's Councillor McGinty, stranger.
I'm sorry, a councillor. John McMurdo. I was advised to see you.
Well, you see me. This is all there is. What do you think of me?
Well, it's early days. But if your heart's as big as your body and your soul's as fine as your face, then I'd ask for nothing better.
By God, you've got an Irish tongue in your head anyhow. Who told you to see me?
Brother Scanlon, Lodge 341. It's a dark night.
And dark nights are unpleasant.
Yes, for strangers to travel.
Brother Baldwin.
Boss,
Baldwin? Ted Baldwin?
what if I am?
I've something to say to you.
And suppose I don't want to hear it?
You'll listen whether you like it or not.
Oh, I will I?
That's enough. Brother Baldwin, escort Mr. McMurdo through to my private room. Now, Brother McMurdo, stay exactly where you are and keep your hands where I can see them.
A gun barrow's a strange sort of welcome.
We don't take people on trust in the valley.
Where were you made?
Lodge 29, Chicago.
When?
June 24th, 1872.
Body master?
James H. Scott.
District ruler?
Bartholomew Wilson.
Why did you leave Chicago?
I'm damned if I'll tell you that.
Quiet! Answer the question.
I was helping Uncle Sam to make dollars.
That's your great secret? You're a coiner?
I was a coiner. Then I moved up some. I killed a man.
You're all talk. You don't have the guts. Why did you kill him?
He threatened to squeal on me to the cops.
And so you killed him.
Why'd you come here?
Because I read in the papers you weren't too particular in these parts.
Yeah, so you claim to be a murderer, and you came to my town because you thought you'd be welcome.
Mm-hmm. That's about the size of it.
Regular lodge meetings Friday.
I know it. Hold behind the saloon. 9 o'clock.
Be there.
Whitaker's Almanac.
Right. Yes. Rather reserved in the beginning, positively garrulous towards the end. Page 534. Column 2. Column 2, the trade and resources of British India.
The first number's 13.
13. Maratha. Not a very auspicious beginning.
7.
Government. Well, at least that makes sense.
Doesn't seem particularly relevant, though.
What's next?
36.
36.
Well, what does the Maratha government do? Holmes?
The next word is pig's bristles.
John! John! Wait!
Oh, Eddie. What are you doing up at this hour? Where's your father?
Still asleep. I had to see you before you went.
He's forbidden me to talk to you.
I know. Where will you go?
I've got a room at another house. Widow McNamara's. Some friends arranged it.
I know the place. John, I'll try to see you there.
Betty. Ted Baldwin.
Father shouldn't have told you.
I'm not scared of a man like Baldwin.
Well, you should be. Oh, John, why couldn't you have come here sooner?
And if I had, suppose I'd been first.
I wish to God you had been.
Even though I'm a freeman too.
But not like them. You could never be like them. You don't know what they're like.
Oh, my love. I know more than you think.
Maratha government pig's bristles. I suppose it couldn't be a code within a code.
Not exactly Porlock's style, I'm afraid. I was sure we had it.
Shall I try Bradshaw?
Yes. Why not? No, we were right.
But it doesn't make sense.
Because we're too up to date. What's the date today?
January the 7th.
We're before our time, and we suffer the usual penalties. Oh, where is it?
Where's what?
It's the 7th of January, and we very properly laid in the new almanac. But Porlock...
Probably used the old one.
Exactly.
The coal scuttle?
Yes. Now, let's start again.
The minstrel fell, but the foreman's chain could not bring that proud soul under. The harp he loved ne'er spoke again, for he tore its cords asunder, and said, "No chain shall sully thee, thou soul of love and bravery. Thy songs were made for the pure and free, they shall never sound in slavery. Thy songs were made for the pure and free, they shall never sound in slavery."
Well, you wet your whistle with me, brother. Take my advice, man. Set yourself up for the meeting tonight.
Oh, put your money away, brother. Councillor, another round for my good friends here.
Throwing your money around, are you, McMurdo?
I'd buy you a drink, Brother Baldwin, but sure, my pocket's suddenly empty.
I've been down to Jacob Shafter's. I've had words with his daughter.
Well, have you now? And what did she tell you?
Are you two fighting over some woman?
I say, my claim has priority.
And I say she should be free to choose between us.
Free to choose.
And what does the bodymaster say?
No brother can lay a claim over another. The woman's free to choose.
And that's your ruling, is it?
It is. That's an end of it.
Oh, no, it's not.
What did you say?
You're not bodymaster for life, Jack McGinty. And by God, the next time it comes to a vote...
I don't believe I appreciate being talked to in that fashion, Brother Baldwin. Maybe you think if I was voted down, then you'd find yourself in my shoes. Is that what you think? And maybe you're right. But so long as I'm the chief, I'll have no man lift his voice against me or my rulings. Do you understand me?
I understand.
Can a body get through to the bar in this house?
Never let it be said an officer of the law couldn't get a drink in my saloon. Make way there, lads.
Thank you, Counselor. Whiskey straight.
You'll be the new captain.
Captain Marvin. I'll be looking to you, Counselor, and all of you other good citizens to help me uphold the law in this town.
We've got our own police in Vermissa. We don't need any imported goods.
Especially not the paid tools of the mine owners.
Well. John McMurdo.
You know me, copper?
Oh, I know a Chicago killer when I see one. I was on the force there before I came to this damn coal bunker. We couldn't make anything stick back then. Perhaps I'll be luckier here.
Now, to page 534. Yes. Second column, word 13. There. Much more promising.
7.
7 is, there is...
36. What does it say?
There is danger.
Bring in the candidate. Unbind his hands. Leave his side. John McMurdo, are you already a member of the Ancient Order of Freemen?
I am.
Your lodge?
Lodge 29, Chicago.
Dark nights are unpleasant.
Yes, for strangers to travel.
The clouds are heavy.
Yes, a storm is approaching.
Are the brethren satisfied?
Aye!
Brother McMurdo, we know by sign and countersign that you are indeed one of us. But in this county, and in other counties of these parts, we have certain rights and duties of our own. Are you ready to be tested?
I am.
Are you of stout heart?
I am of stout heart.
Can you bear pain?
As well as any man.
Test him.
I can take more than that.
Remove the hood.
John McMurdo looked down at his right arm. There, on the flesh of the forearm, a wisp of smoke still rising from it, was a clear-cut circle with a triangle within it, deep and red, the brand mark of the Scourers.
It's done.
It's done. Read it back, Doctor.
There is danger. Confidence is pressing. Douglas. Rich countryman, Burleston House. Burleston.
What do you think of pure reason and its fruits? If the greengrocer had such a thing as a laurel wreath, I'd send Mrs. Hudson round to fetch it.
It's a pretty curt sort of message.
Oh, he's done remarkably well. When you've only got a single column to choose words from, you're bound to have to leave something to the intelligence of your reader, which fortunately was well up to the task. Some devilry is planned against a Mr. Douglas, a rich country gentleman of Burleston House. Burleston.
Whatever that is. Confidence is pressing.
Oh, really, Watson, you're supposed to have a way with words. Porlock's confident that the danger's pressing. Confidence was the best he could do.
Well, can we find this Douglas and save him?
Of course we can. Hello, a visitor.
A client?
Oh, that ring had an unmistakable touch to it. That's all right, Mrs. Hudson. The gentleman knows the way.
Who is it?
You're an early bird, Mr. Mac.
Ah.
I wish you luck with your worm. Come in, come in.
Good morning to you, Mr. Holmes. Doctor.
Inspector MacDonald.
I fear this means there's some mischief afoot.
Oh, now if you'd said hope instead of fear, it'd be nearer the truth, I'm thinking.
Cigarette, Inspector?
No, I won't smoke, thank you. I must be pushing on my way. The early hours of a case are the precious ones, as you both know full well. But...
Mr. Mac, what's wrong?
This note! Man, this is witchcraft.
Hardly that.
Mr. Holmes, where did you get this?
Why? What's amiss with it?
Amiss with it? Douglas at Burleston House?
You know him?
Well, I'd hardly say I know him, Doctor. Jack Douglas. He bought the manor house in Burleston in Sussex some 10 years back. An American gentleman.
Brother John McMurdo, in the name of Lodge 341, Vermissa Valley, I welcome you to its privileges and debates. Do you stand by your oaths of fidelity and secrecy?
I do so stand.
Well, we must get a warning to him. He's in danger.
I'm sorry, Mr. Holmes, we can't do that.
Why not, man?
And do you accept the penalty for disloyalty and disobedience?
I do. If I should break my vow to my brothers, may I be hunted down across this country or any other, and put to a most deserving and inevitable death.
Why not? Because he was horribly murdered late last night. That's why not.
So it is sworn.
Aye! I want to know exactly how you came by this note.
Well, actually, Watson wrote it.
To your dictation, Holmes.
True enough. We decoded it, Mr. Mac. Here's the original.
Ah, a secret code, is it? Well, it seems to me I can have the case cleared up in no time. All I have to do is lay my hands on the man who sent you this.
And how do you propose to do that?
I was rather assuming you'd tell me.
I have no idea who he is or how to contact him.
I thought you sent him money.
On occasion. Posted to Camberwell Post Office.
And you've never troubled to see who called for the letters?
When he first got in touch with me, I gave him my word that I wouldn't try to trace him.
You give your word to a criminal?
It wasn't the first time, and it won't be the last.
Oh, Mr.
But this
Holmes.
is all beside the point. It's the man behind Porlock you should be after.
The man behind him?
The man responsible for your murder.
Well, who is he?
His name is Moriarty.
Ah.
I've never heard of him.
Maybe not, Doctor, but I have.
Ah, so he's known to the police.
Oh, aye. He's known right enough. Professor James Moriarty is one of the most respected academics in the country. He has honorary doctorates from Oxford and Cambridge. He writes books that no one else in the world can understand, and he lectures in mathematics.
Perfect cover.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, I really don't want to go through all this again.
Moriarty is behind this murder.
Following the ceremony of initiation, drinks were produced and strong liquor flowed freely. All were anxious to raise a glass to this new brother, who stood firm before policemen and never flinched under the branding iron. They rolled back their sleeves and compared their marks and shared their stories. All had gone through the test, though few as bravely as young John McMurdo.
First item on the agenda, the pension to Jim Carnaway's widow. Brother Treasurer?
Bodymaster, the companies have all been generous lately. Hetty Carnaway will be well looked after.
Very good. Item 2. I've had a request from Lodge 249, Merton County. They've a job to be done, too sensitive for the local brothers. The target is Andrew Ray, manager of Ray and Sturmash, co-owners
Eminent
of
Bodymaster!
Brother Scanlon.
With all respect, I know Merton County. Ray and Sturmash is just a two-man company.
What of it?
If we kill this man, Charlie Sturmash will sell up and move out. And then it'll be just like the others. One of the big companies from New York or Philadelphia will buy up the mine. If we carry on like this, soon there won't be any small firms left.
Bloody good riddance.
But we can't control the big companies. They're just too powerful.
We can control any size company we like. I'll not have any yellow scaremongering in this lodge, Scanlon. Either you stand with us or you go the same way as Donegan and Williams last year. Choose.
We stand with the lodge.
See that you do. Or it'll be your name on the agenda one of these days. Lodge 249 asks for 2 men. Brother Cormac.
Boss.
Brother Wilson.
Bodymaster. If you need another man, I take it as an honour to be chosen.
They asked for 2, McMurdo. 2 is what they'll get.
Item 3. There's one man in this town that wants trimming up. James Stanger, editor of the Herald. Have you read this, brothers? Reign of Terror in the Coal and Iron District. A criminal organization in our midst.
Kill him!
It's what he deserves. But there'd be more trouble than we need just now. I want him warned, not killed. Brother Baldwin.
Boss.
You can fix it.
My pleasure. I'll take 3 men. Mansell, O'Brien, Willoughby.
And McMurdo.
McMurdo?
That's my ruling. This'll teach you to print your damn lies, eh? Call me a criminal, eh? There you easy man. Baldwin, for the love of God! Shut your mouth! That's enough! Keep out of this! That's enough, I said! Get your hands off me, you damn traitor!
Stand away from him, Baldwin, or I'll blow your face off.
By God, you are a traitor.
For God's sakes, hurry yourselves! The street's awake!
Go on, lads. Scatter!
All right, now, lads.
Ted! Come on, man!
I'm coming!
McMurdo, don't think that this is over.
Now, Inspector, give us the facts.
Mr. Jack Douglas was found dead just before midnight last night. Extensive injuries to the head. No arrest has been made. Those are the main points from the official report.
What about the unofficial report?
Now, what makes you think there is one?
Oh, come on, Mr. Mac. Takes a lot more than that to bring you round to Baker Street.
Aye, Doctor. You're quite right. Here you are, gentlemen. A private note from the local man, White Mason. Very reliable. Mr. Holmes.
Mac, don't waste a second. Extraordinary features, perplexing details. Bring Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson if you can. This case is a snorter.
Councillor McGinty, this is an honour.
I'm not usually much of a visitor, but I thought I'd stretch a point. I hear you pulled a gun on Brother Baldwin last night.
I did, and I'd do it again. Where I come from, the orders of a bodymaster are to be obeyed without question. Baldwin was set to murder the man.
He called you a damn traitor.
And at any other time I'd have killed him for it. But it was more important to get the man away and protect the lodge.
You did the right thing. I'm grateful. Freeze the pair of you! What's the meaning of this, Marvin?
I thought you'd be getting into trouble, Mr. Crooked McMurdo. You're coming with us.
What am I being accused of?
This man is a friend of mine. I'll answer for his conduct.
Is that so? Well, Mr. McGinty, you may have to answer for your own conduct one of these days. Give me a pistol, McMurdo.
There. But I'll ask you again, Captain. What is it you think I've done?
You were involved in the beating of old Stanger at the Herald office last night.
Drop this now, Marvin. Save yourself a deal of trouble.
What's that supposed to mean?
This man was with me in my saloon last night. We played poker till first light. And I can bring a dozen witnesses to prove it. Not guilty! Brother McMurdo, take a drink of that.
Thanks. To poker! That's a fine drop of whiskey.
My own stock.
I'm honoured. My thanks to you, bodymaster.
The lodge protects its own.
It was a lucky thing old Stanger didn't get a better look at us.
He shouldn't have got any sort of look. Baldwin should have doused the lamp first thing. He's getting careless.
You sure that's all he is? You sure he didn't want us to be seen? Some of us, at least.
Careful, McMurdo. It's not your place to question a brother's loyalty.
Counselor, if a brother calls me traitor, then I can return the favour.
Is that what they say in Chicago?
It's what I say.
I do have some information on the murdered man. This Douglas was something of a local hero. Pulled a man out of a burning building when everyone else had given up.
What's his household?
Him and his wife. Just a few servants.
And he's an American, you say?
Well, that's what I'm told.
Mrs. Douglas, too?
No, she's a local lady. Quite the beauty, it seems. And a fair bit younger than her husband.
Who discovered the body?
A house guest, Mr. Cecil Barker.
Do you know anything about him?
Well, he's often there, apparently.
A friend of Mr. Douglas?
Or his wife?
I see what you're thinking, Doctor, but it was Mr. Douglas he was close to. A friend from the old days, in the Californian goldfields, so they say.
Surprise!
What the hell?
John!
Etty! My God. Etty!
For pity's sake, John!
You shouldn't go sneaking up on a body like that.
I wanted to see you.
Can I try and strangle you? Oh, come here, my darling. Let me make it up to you.
Why were you so scared of me?
Sure, I was thinking of other things. Come on. Come here.
John!
Now, come on. Make your heart easy. Let me see you smile.
How can I be easy when I know you're one of them? A criminal.
We're just poor men trying to get our rights.
Give it up, John. I beg you.
I can't break my oath. I can't desert my comrades.
Not even for me?
Not even for you.
Burlstone Manor, gentlemen.
Thank you.
That's not a house, it's a fortress.
Aye, that's the word for it.
Jacobean. Built on the ruins of something much older. Probably 11th century. That really would have been a fortress. This is enough of one for me. A moat and a drawbridge. Wonderful. That drawbridge still works. See the oil on the chain? Not from here, no. Some of the winding gear's almost new. Interesting. This Mr. Douglas valued his security. Jacobean, you say? Yes, why? Oh, I was just thinking. This house has seen 3 centuries of births and homecomings, and country dances and hunts and happiness. Thank you, Watson. And now, in its old age, this tragedy. Mind you, it's a fit setting for a murder. Silent as a churchyard and dark as a tomb. Beautifully put. You'll probably double the circulation of the Strand magazine.
Mr. MacDonald?
Oh, wait, Mason.
Gentlemen, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Oh, Dr. Watson. I hope we'll all have a place in the book when the time comes, eh? Mr. Holmes?
Mr. White Mason?
Oh, this is something after your own heart, gentlemen. A snorter. A real snorter.
Dear God. He was found in exactly this position.
Yes, sir, he was. We moved the gun, but that were all.
Where exactly was the gun?
Across his chest.
Excuse me. Yes. It was a double-barrel shotgun.
It was.
One barrel wouldn't have been enough to destroy that much of the skull. You agree, Watson? Yes, I'm afraid I do. Yes. 2 barrels fired at very close range, full in the face. The angle of the shots is almost vertical. Powder burns on his dressing gown. Are you sure this was murder, Inspector?
Details. That's what's important in this life. You get the details right, the rest will take care of itself.
Don't you ever get tired of the sound of your own voice, McMurdo?
Not half as tired as I do of yours, Baldwin.
That's enough. Brother Baldwin, get back to your beer. Brother McMurdo, a word.
I'm beginning to have my doubts, Doctor. White Mason, I hope you've not brought us down here for nothing.
I don't think so. Though it's true that everyone's first thought was for suicide. Mr. Barker, Ames the butler, the housekeeper.
What about Mrs. Douglas? What was her reaction when she saw the body?
She didn't. Mr. Barker managed to stop her before she could come in here.
Indeed. You're about to tell us the evidence for murder.
I want an end to this business between you and Baldwin.
We're all at each other's throats just in a minute. That mess up with the Steve Byrd job didn't help.
Byrd was warned. He must have been warned. Too many jobs have been going wrong lately. We might have a squealer.
Not necessarily. That new captain's too sharp for his own good.
Maybe.
You want him taken care of?
It's too risky.
This is a war. There's always going to be risks.
I didn't bring you in here for a lecture, McMurdo.
Then why did you?
There's a job for you. And for you alone.
I'll not have this one fail.
What's the job?
Have a look at this.
Was the window open like that when the body was found?
Nothing's been touched, Mr. Holmes. We may not be Scotland Yard, but we know how to preserve a crime scene.
Not being Scotland Yard's a distinct advantage.
Mr. Holmes.
Is that blood? Yes, a partial footprint, man's boot.
It seemed to me that someone stepped on the sill as he climbed out the window.
But aren't we directly above the moat? Yes, we are. What else is there?
Well, Mr. Barker is adamant that the gun isn't from this house. The butler, too.
May I see the weapon?
I had to move it so the local doctor could examine the body. The barrels have been sawn off short. Never seen that before. Here.
Yes, American practice makes it easier to conceal. The triggers have been wired together. Pull one and both cartridges fire.
There's a maker's monogram.
Ah, yes. P-E-N.
Oh, it means nothing to me, I'm afraid.
Pennsylvania Small Arms Company, thank you. Now, what more?
This was found on the body, neatly tucked into the cord of the dressing gown.
Watson?
Thank you. Plain white visiting card, rather cheap quality. 2 words written in ink. VV341.
Chester Wilcox, chief foreman of the Iron Dike Company. We've had 2 tries at him already, but no luck. Now, look here. That's his house. It's well out of earshot of any of the others.
Out of earshot?
It could be a noisy business. There's a wife and 3 kids as well as the man himself. They're bound to raise a cry.
I'll pick him off at work. During the day?
No, you won't. He's expecting us to do just that. He's always on his guard.
Then you're right. At home's best. After dark.
How will you get him alone?
I won't.
Thank you, Doctor. VV.
Someone's initials?
Well, there's no VV in the village. Now, Mr. Barker says that
Mr. Barker seems to be saying quite a lot.
Well, he very naturally took charge of things.
Very naturally. Carry on. What does Mr. Barker say?
That he's never seen a card like it in the house before.
Well, it certainly wasn't written with any of these pens. No. Mr. White Mason, so far you've given us a dead man, a gun, a visiting card, and a boot mark. Are they the sum total of your perplexing features and extraordinary details?
They are not, Mr. Holmes. The fatal shot was fired just before midnight. Mr. Barker heard it and rushed to this room. He swears that not 30 seconds had passed, but he saw no one but the dead man. The drawbridge was raised. The house was effectively an island. The window was open, but the moat is 40 feet wide, and there are no signs of anyone having crossed it. Even if the killer did escape that way, there were village people still about. A stranger, especially one with soaking wet clothes, would have been seen at once.
Presumably you put out a search yourself.
Straight away, Doctor. And before you ask me, Mr. Holmes, we searched the house, too. Our murderer effectively disappeared into thin air.
It's not unique. Huddersfield in 76, the Folkestone slaughter in 69, half a hundred others.
I didn't say it was unique, sir. I said it was perplexing.
You said it was extraordinary. I think it needs rather more to put it into that category.
Oh, you think so, do you, Mr. Holmes? Then look at the dead man's hand. You see this ring?
Unusual design. Is that gold?
It's called a nugget ring, a fragment of pure gold ore in a plain metal band.
So that supports the story of his past life in the goldfields.
Oh, there's more to it than that, Doctor. Everyone in the house swears that Douglas always wore that ring outside his wedding ring.
What wedding ring?
The wedding ring from his first marriage. The wedding ring that Barker says meant more to him than anything else in the world. The wedding ring that never, ever left his finger.
The wedding ring that isn't there now.
Exactly. What we have here is a murderer who kills his victim, removes both his rings, carefully puts one of them back, leaves his calling card, and then vanishes into thin air.
And does it all inside the space of 30 seconds.
Now, tell me, Mr. Holmes, what manner of man can do that?
What manner of man, indeed?
That's very fine.
In Episode 1 of The Valley of Fear by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes was played by Clive Merrison and Dr. Watson by Michael Williams. John McMurdo, Ian Glenn. Inspector MacDonald, Mark Bonner. White Mason, Timothy Bateson. Jack McGinty, Constantine Gregory. Jacob Shafter, Don McCorkindale. Etty Shafter, Amanda Gordon. Ted Baldwin, Stephen Critchlow. Mike Scanlon, Peter Gunn. Captain Marvin, Jonathan Keeble. The narrator was Ronald Pickup. Other parts were played by members of the cast. The pianist was Michael Haslam. The violinist, Abigail Young. The Valley of Fear is dramatized for radio by Bert Coules and directed by Enyd Williams.
What we have here, gentlemen, is a murderer who kills his victim, removes both his rings, carefully puts one of them back, leaves his calling card, and then vanishes into thin air.
And does it all inside the space of 30 seconds.
Now tell me, Mr. Holmes, what manner of man can do that?
What manner of man, indeed?
Oh, that's fine. That's very fine.
The Valley of Fear by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, with Clive Merrison as Sherlock Holmes and Michael Williams as Dr. John Watson, Ian Glenn as John McMurdo, and Ronald Pickup as the narrator. Episode 2, The Tragedy of Burleston.
John! John!
Etty!
John, is it true? Tell me it's not true.
Easy now, calm down. What you on about?
The Wilcox family. All murdered.
Murdered? Sure, it was an accident. The man kept blasting powder in his house.
Look at me, John.
Now, that'll be a pleasure.
Stop it. Stop this stupid act. I hate it.
You'll have to trust me, Acushla.
Trust you? How can I trust you? For all I know, you may have killed those people yourself.
Will you keep your voice down?
3 little children, John.
Etty.
Don't touch me. I never want to see you again.
Darling.
Go to your scour of friends.
Here's to a job well done. Brother McMurdo!
Spring had come to Pennsylvania, with running brooks and blossoming trees. New hope for all nature bound so long in the iron grip of winter. But nowhere was there any hope for the men and women of the Vermissa coalfields. Darkly the shadow of death lay on the Valley of Fear.
Watson?
I don't think I can add anything to the local doctor's report. Both barrels full in the face. Death would have been immediate, thank God.
What about the mark on his arm?
Yes, you were right. This man's been branded like an animal. Impossible to tell how old the mark is, I'm afraid.
Did he make any attempt to conceal it? Inspector?
Why, it's not mentioned in the report. White Mason?
Not particularly. At least, not according to Mr. Barker.
Mr. Barker, yes. Is there anything else, Doctor?
No, not really. He seems to have been in good physical shape. Had he been depressed at all, nervous?
I didn't ask.
Depressed, Doctor? You're still thinking of suicide?
We have to consider all the possibilities. It's unlikely, I grant you.
I've never heard of a suicide like it. All those preparations must have been damnably cold-blooded.
It's not entirely unheard of.
No, I can't accept it. He was killed by a stranger who entered the house after dark. An American.
Man, you're travelling too fast.
That's an American gun, sawn off in the American manner.
That's not what I mean. I've heard no evidence that there was a stranger here at all.
The open window, blood on the sill, the queer visiting card.
A muddy boot mark behind the curtain.
I didn't see that.
It's very faint, but quite definite.
Well, reinforces my theory. I'm obliged to you, Mr. Holmes.
There's nothing there that couldn't have been arranged by someone inside the house. Mr. Douglas was an American. Mr. Barker lived in America. You don't need to import someone from outside to account for American doings.
Excuse me, Inspector.
What is it, lad?
We've found something, sir. Outside.
It's a Rudge Whitworth. Well, it's common enough bicycle.
It's well ridden.
It's been used for a considerable journey very recently. The mud streaks and splashes were all made within a few hours of each other. What's the nearest large town?
Tunbridge Wells. I suppose there's no doubt that this is how the killer got here.
Oh, it's too near the house to have been dumped casually. But what in the name of all that's wonderful made him leave it behind?
What sort of murderer makes off with a wedding ring but abandons his quickest means of escape?
We don't seem to get a gleam of light in this case.
Don't we?
I'm very lonely now, Mary, for the poor make no new friends. But oh, they love the better still, the few our Father sends. And you were all I had, Mary, my blessing and my pride. There's nothing else to care for now, since my poor Mary died. I'm bidding you a long farewell, my Mary kind and true, but I'll not forget you, darling, in the land I'm going to. They say there's bread and work for all, and the sun shines always there, but I'll not forget old Ireland, were it 50 times as fair, were it 50 times as fair.
By God, McMurdo, you've a voice on you to charm the devil himself. Here, take a drink of that.
My thanks to you, Councillor.
Give us another one, brother. Will you let the man finish his drink?
McMurdo, Brother Scanlon, let me fill your glass.
No! Listen, I've got to talk to you.
Come outside. I hope this is worth taking me away from a drink for, brother.
I've had a letter from back east. I left good friends behind when I came out here. Here, see for yourself.
Why didn't you take this to the boss?
After the last time, it'd be all up with me. But you can do something about it. You've got to, or we're all dead men.
Anything?
Nothing. It's a stone ledge. It wouldn't hold footmarks for long.
Well, we're directly opposite the study. If he had crossed the moat, this is the obvious place to climb out.
Yes. Is there the drawbridge raised every night?
6 o'clock, without fail. And Mr. Douglas himself checked all the ground floor windows last thing.
The man was afraid of something.
Deathly afraid. And with good reason.
Shall we set up the interviews now?
If you would, Mr. Mac. Do you want to do the questioning?
Well, I'll be very happy to leave it to you. It's always a pleasure to learn from an expert.
Indeed it is.
Thank you. The library or the dining room, I think. Watson and I will join you there.
I thought you'd finished in here.
Not quite. What do you make of it?
Oh, I think we can discount suicide. I know there have been cases.
Yes, but this isn't one of them. Kill yourself with a double-barrel shotgun and the recoil throws the weapon away from the body. It certainly doesn't leave it neatly lying on the chest.
I'll take your word for it.
Yes. Well, what do you think of this?
Yeah, a dumbbell. Douglas was a fit man. He liked to exercise. Why is it significant?
Because I can only find one.
Only one? But you have to use them in pairs. Douglas certainly did.
I'm quite sure.
There'd be unilateral development. Maybe even curvature of the spine. No, he definitely used two.
Interesting.
Is this how we do our business? Item 5.
Eminent Bodymaster.
We missed your voice, brother. Take your place.
Eminent Bodymaster, I claim urgency.
We've better things to do than listen to you, McMurdo.
A claim of urgency takes precedence, Brother Baldwin. Speak.
There's a Pinkerton detective in the valley. What? He's their top man, Bertie Edwards. And he's collecting evidence that'll put a rope around all our necks. What?
What's your proof, Brother McMurdo?
This letter. I have friends in business back east, and they know what they're saying. 5 big companies and 2 railroads have engaged Pinkerton to sweep the valley clean once and forever.
Oh, I've heard of this Bertie Edwards.
Me too, he's a crack man.
And he's here already?
He'll be under a different name. In Chicago, he went as one of those damn newspaper men. Steve Wilson.
In Chicago? You know this man?
I saw him once. I'd know him again.
It always has to be you, doesn't it, McMurdo? You lay down the law. You get the best jobs. You save the whole damn lot.
And your neck along with it, Baldwin, much as I'd rather see it snap.
Enough! Brother McMurdo, if you know how this man operates, what do you think he'll be doing?
If he's using the same disguise, he'll be going around asking a lot of questions. Offering money for information on the scourers.
Then if any brother is approached by a stranger, I want to hear about it straight away. Can we do any more than that, McMurdo?
No, we can't. All we can do now is wait.
No one present heard McMurdo's words without a shudder of fear. That night, the usual revelry of the lodge was short and subdued.
I thought this room would be the best.
That's very good. We'll sit this side of the table, facing the door. Witnesses, one at a time, sitting opposite.
Excuse me, Mr. Holmes. Have you finished with the body?
Yes, I have. Doctor?
Nothing more to learn there, I'm afraid.
I'll have him removed.
And get some inquiries underway about the bicycle.
Right. Shall I send someone in? Who do you want to see first?
I believe we'll start with Mrs. Douglas.
You'll start with me. Gentlemen, Mr. Cecil Barker.
Come in, Mr. Barker. Take a seat.
Call for me if you want me.
I've already given my statement to the police.
I'm not the police.
I'm well aware of who you are.
But I'm saved the tedious necessity of introducing myself. Sit down, sir. My associate, Dr. Watson, Inspector MacDonald of Scotland Yard.
Scotland Yard?
Are you surprised that the Yard is involved, sir?
Well, no, I suppose I'm not. Not really. This sort of international crime.
What do you mean?
I mean that Jack Douglas was hunted down by a killer from an American secret society. The same society that he was a member of years ago. The society that wanted him dead.
You know this for a fact.
He never said as much. Not in so many words, but there were hints. And look at this place. Why else does a man buy a fortress unless he's in fear for his life?
Well, I can think of several reasons.
He raised the drawbridge every night.
Respect for tradition.
He checked every door and window.
Natural caution.
He never left this house without a revolver in his pocket. I tell you, I know what I'm talking about. You must have seen the brand mark on his arm, and that card that was left, and a sawn-off shotgun. For God's sake, what more do you want?
Facts. Hard facts, supported by evidence.
Well, here's a fact. You can check it with the staff. The day before he was killed, Jack went into Tunbridge Wells. When he got back here, he looked dreadful, pale and shaking. I hadn't seen him like that for years. Not since he left America.
Ah, yes, America. You were in business there, I understand.
In California. We were partners in a gold mine.
Why did you give it up?
Jack just suddenly sold up and sailed for England. He wouldn't tell me why. But just a few days after he left, a man arrived asking for him. Not a Californian. A man from out east.
Can you describe this man?
Well-built, tall, bearded. It was 7 years ago.
How long had you known Douglas before that?
5 years.
So, if your theory is correct, this society pursued its vendetta for at least 12 years and across 2 continents.
My theory is correct.
When did you follow Douglas to England?
After 12 months. I got here just before he married. I was his best man.
Did you know Mrs. Douglas before the wedding?
I did not.
But you've seen a good deal of her since.
I've seen a good deal of him since. You can't visit a man without seeing his wife.
Do you consider her a friend?
Yes, I do.
And did Mr. Douglas approve of your friendship with his wife?
You've no right to ask such questions.
I've every right. What's your answer?
I refuse to answer. None of this is relevant.
There's a connection between the murder and the marriage. Why else did the killer take the wedding ring?
How should I know that?
Do you know how the murderer got away?
Through the window and across the moat.
How long after the shot did you get to the study?
Not more than 30 seconds. I saw poor Jack's body and rang the bell for the servant straight away.
But you saw no one?
I've already said so. Then I heard Mrs. Douglas coming down the stairs.
And rushed to stop her?
Yes, and by that time the staff were there. I asked Mrs. Allen, the housekeeper, to take Ivy back up to her room.
A task which she accomplished with ease. No more questions.
Easy, Counselor.
You damn fool. I could have plugged you. What's wrong with giving the sign?
There's no time for all that.
Listen.
Have you found out anything yet?
By doing everything possible, Mrs. Douglas.
But have you made any progress?
No.
Spare no money. I want every effort to be made.
Perhaps you can tell us something that will help.
I'm afraid not.
How long had your husband been downstairs before you heard the shot?
I can't say.
Was he usually up that late?
Yes, checking the doors and windows.
Did he have a set routine for this check?
I don't know.
Well, perhaps he always started with the study.
Perhaps. I really don't know.
What happened after you heard the shot?
Well, I'm sorry. I heard the shot. And I put on my dressing gown and came down. Mr. Barker met me on the stairs. He met me on the stairs. He said, "For God's sake, go back to your room. Poor Jack is dead. There's nothing you can do. For God's sake, go back." And then he made Mrs. Allen, the housekeeper, take me back up.
Did your husband ever speak about any danger threatening him from his past? Did he ever make any comment of that sort at all?
The Valley of Fear.
What did you say?
The Valley of Fear. 3 years ago, Jack was very ill, delirious with fever. One night, as I was bathing his forehead, he suddenly opened his eyes. He looked straight at me, but I don't think it was me he was seeing. And that was what he said, so low I could hardly hear. Am I never going to get out of the Valley of Fear?
I saw him on the cars when I went down the line yesterday. He didn't know me.
What name's he using?
Steve Wilson, same as before. He's not as clever as he thinks he is.
Did you speak to him, Mr. Hero?
Don't you ever give it a rest, Baldwin. No, I didn't speak to him. I waited till he spoke to me. I'm writing an article for a paper in New York, says he. And I'm after anything you can tell me about the outrages. I've got his money.
Hey, and what did you do for it?
I'm tired of your interruptions, Baldwin. Let Brother McMurdo tell this his own way.
Buddy Master, I fed him some nonsense. Stuff I knew he wanted to hear. And I promised him a lot more besides if he'd meet me at my lodgings 9 o'clock tonight.
I fancy Mr. Birdie Edwards will find more of a welcome than he's expecting. Good work, brother. There'll be a vacancy at Pinkerton's come the morning.
What did you learn from the staff?
Nothing really new. Their master had no enemies that they knew of. He was a popular man in the village. Ames the butler confirms that Douglas was nervous and jittery when he came back from Tunbridge Wells, and Mrs. Allen's story matches Barker's exactly. He asked her to take Ivy Douglas back up to her room and sit with her.
Are they telling the truth?
Yes, I think they are. They've both been in service here since Douglas bought the house, and they're both genuinely shaken by his death, I'd swear to it.
Did they hear the shot?
No. But the staff quarters are at the back of the house, and the walls are pretty thick.
Barker said he rang the bell.
Yes, and they confirm it. They were there inside a minute.
What's their opinion of Barker?
An easy, free-going gentleman, but my word, I'd rather not be the man who crossed him. That's the butler.
And the housekeeper?
Rather too friendly with the master's wife, sir, if you want my opinion.
Interesting.
Did you two make any progress while I was away?
I discovered that the moat's only about 4 feet deep at the edges, rather more than that in the middle.
Yeah, is that relevant?
My question exactly, Doctor.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
Well, I'm away off for a spell. I want to see how White Mason's doing with that bicycle. Will you gentlemen come with me?
No, I believe we'll stay here and think things over.
Very good. I'll see you later, then.
Mr. Mac?
Impressions. Her first.
She's a very beautiful woman.
I knew I could rely on you to observe that.
Well, you can give me credit for a little more.
Go on.
I was going to say a very beautiful woman, but the look she gave us as she left was rather ugly. I could have sworn she was trying to read what impression she'd made on us.
Anything else?
The way she told us the events.
Like a prepared speech and none too well remembered.
Yes. But I just don't believe she's that cold-blooded. She must have known we'd ask about the murder. Perhaps she did rehearse it beforehand, perfectly understand.
What about Barker?
I couldn't decide if all that indignation was real or fake.
What about this American business? The threatening stranger, the secret society, the Valley of Fear?
Oh, I believed her about that. But it doesn't exactly fit in with your criminal mastermind theory, does it? Your professor, what was it?
Moriarty.
Moriarty. That brand mark on Douglas's arm was real enough.
It's a lie, Watson. A great, big, thumping, obtrusive, uncompromising lie. It met us on the threshold, and it's been with us ever since. Now, come on. Barker's whole story is false. None of it adds up.
But his story matches hers.
Therefore, she's lying, too. But why?
Are you sure about this?
What are they hiding?
Why are the stories false?
Because none of it's possible.
Servants aren't lying.
Well, maybe not, but they weren't there at the crucial time.
They were there immediately afterwards.
Were they?
Well, yes, or as near as damn it. Is all the American stuff false, too?
What if Barker is shielding the woman?
You think she's the killer? Listen. What did you hear?
The two of them. There.
What sort of heartless creature can laugh like that just a few hours after her husband's murder?
She doesn't shine as a wife, even in her own account. What do you mean? I'm not an admirer of womankind, as you know.
Yes, I certainly do.
But if I ever married, I'd hope that my wife would display rather more feeling for me than that, to allow herself to be meekly led away by a housekeeper when my corpse was lying within a few yards of her.
You really think she might have shot him? Or the two of them acting together?
There's an appalling directness about your questions sometimes.
It's usually the only way I can get a direct answer.
Touché.
Well, am I going to get one now?
There are 3 things I'd like you to do.
Go on.
Organize us a room at the village inn and leave word at the police station that Mac and White Mason can find us there this evening and bring us up to date.
That's 2 things. What's the third?
Lend me your umbrella.
The house where McMurdo lived was well suited for what the Scourers had planned. It stood on the fringe of the town and well back from the road, and there were only 2 boarders, both of them brothers of the lodge. In any other case, the conspirators would simply have ambushed their man and emptied their pistols into him as they had many a time before. But this instance was different.
We have to find out how much he knows already.
And how much he's passed back to his employers.
Maybe we're already too late.
If we are, at least we'll have our revenge.
No, we're not too late. If he knew anything big already, why did he pay me for the nonsense I fed him? And why did he agree to come here tonight?
It's true.
When he comes, I'll take him into the hall, make sure he's alone. Then I'll bring him in here.
And we'll show him the hospitality of the lodge.
What's the time?
Half an hour to go.
This is very good. Why don't you have some? Very good. Can you entertain yourself tonight? I beg your pardon? I'm going to spend an hour or so alone in Douglas's study.
Do Mrs. Douglas and Barker know?
No, I arranged it all with Ames the butler after you'd left. I think it's going to be very valuable. Soak up the atmosphere, that sort of thing.
Soak up the atmosphere.
With the aid of your umbrella, yes.
Holmes, if you're expecting danger, that's a wretched sort of weapon.
Oh, I'm not. If there was danger threatening, I'd take you with me.
Mr. Holmes! Doctor!
Gentlemen.
You two look as though you've had a good afternoon.
Aye, we did that, Doctor.
We've had the bicycle identified.
Oh, congratulations.
We took the machine over to Tunbridge Wells and showed it round the hotels. The manager of the Eagle Commercial knew it at once.
It belonged to a man named Hargreave, who checked in 2 days before and then disappeared.
The man was about 50 and tallish.
That's a little vague, Mr. Mac.
Why, it wasn't the sort to draw attention, Doctor. The manager did better with his clothes. A heavy grey suit with a reefer jacket and a yellow overcoat.
But this is the real snorter. The man was definitely an American.
Prime up that stove, Willoughby.
You cold, McMurdo?
We'll strap him across it till he squeals.
How much longer?
15 minutes.
Leicester. Nottingham. Southampton. East Ham. And Derby, and Richmond, and 12 other...
14.
14 other places. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Is this the missing American?
Aye, Doctor. Telegrams in response to our appeal. The country seems to be full of fugitives in yellow overcoats.
Dear me. Well, Mr. Mac and Mr. White Mason, I have a piece of very earnest advice for you.
Oh, man, I'll be pleased to hear it.
Abandon the case.
Holmes? You think it's hopeless?
Yes, I do.
But this cyclist must be somewhere.
Why shouldn't we be able to Oh, I find don't him? doubt he's somewhere. I'm sure you'll find him, but stop wasting your energies in Richmond and East Ham, gentlemen.
But last night you were congratulating us.
What's happened since then?
Two things. I spent a couple of hours at Birlston Manor.
And?
And I've read this.
You didn't tell me about this.
Well, I'm glad it's not just us you keep in the dark, Mr. Holmes. What is that, Doctor?
The ancient manor house of Birlston. A short history.
Short, but exceedingly interesting, and purchasable at the modest sum of 1 penny from the local tobacconist.
You're making fools of us. This has nothing to do with the murder.
Isn't it? Breadth of view, Mr. Mack, one of the essentials of our profession. Take it from someone older and more experienced.
I don't dispute that you're both of those, Mr. Holmes. But you've a damned round-the-corner sort of way of getting to your point.
Why on earth should we drop the case?
For the simple reason, my dear sir, that you don't have the faintest idea of what it is that you're investigating. I spent a very enjoyable hour alone here last night, and before that, Ames the butler was a mine of helpful information. He gave me this.
An old slipper?
What are those stains?
Blood, exactly. This is one of the slippers which were adorning the feet of Mr. Cecil Barker when he discovered the body.
Oh, well, then of course it's covered in blood. The whole corner of the room's covered in blood, and worse.
Look at this.
Oh, we've seen it. The killer's footprint on the sill.
And if I place the slipper over it...
Good God!
It's an exact match.
But what the devil was Barker doing climbing out of the window?
And now, this well-concealed, muddy footprint behind the curtain.
That one doesn't match at all.
I said it was a snorter.
You did, and you went wrong. Most of the rest of my time here was spent in a renewed search for the missing dumbbell.
What missing dumbbell?
Oh, sorry, didn't I mention that? Remiss of me. The entire case hinges on the missing dumbbell.
Mr. Holmes.
I've one more piece of advice.
Well, I hope it's a sight more practical than the last one.
I recommend a nice, cheery country walk for both of you. Then lunch at some suitable hostelry. And this evening, tired but happy.
Man, this is getting past
And
the
this
joke.
evening, I'd be obliged if you'd join me at the gates to this house before dusk, without fail, Mr. Mack.
Oh, that sounds more like sanity.
Oh, it was all excellent advice. Oh, one thing before we part.
Well?
I want you to write a note to Mr. Barker.
Saying what?
Here, I've drafted it for you.
Well?
That's not possible, Mr. Holmes. I've already inquired.
Nonetheless.
Give me that.
Well, Inspector, what does it say?
It says, Doctor, that at first light tomorrow a gang of police workmen are going to set to divert the river that runs through this estate.
Divert the river?
Yes. We're going to drain the moat.
He's not coming.
It's not 9 yet, Baldwin.
Ah, you bungled it. He was wise to you.
Quiet.
And we're sitting here like rats in a trap.
If you can't shut your mouth, Baldwin, I'll shut it for you.
He'll come. My word on it.
Watson? Yes. This gives us a good view of the study.
Excellent.
Well, we're here. What do we do now?
We possess our souls in patience.
Well, why are we here at all?
And try to make as little noise as possible. We have to set the scene, to glorify our results sometimes. This would be a drab and sordid sort of profession if we didn't.
I'm a believer in direct action.
Oh, Mr. Mack, the blunt accusation, the brutal tap on the shoulder. What could poor Watson here make of that? But the subtle trap.
The quick inference.
Clever forecast.
The anticipation. The thrill.
Yes, the thrill. Where would that be if I'd explained everything beforehand? Where's the pride and justification in that? All I ask is a little patience. Everything will become clear.
Well, I hope the pride and the justification and the rest of it come before we all catch our death of cold.
Oh, on the subject of the clever forecast...
No, I don't think I've forgotten.
Forgotten what?
Mr. Holmes has an informant in London who predicted this murder.
Good God. Who is he?
We don't know. He's just a name, Porlock.
It's the man behind him that matters.
Are you still sticking to that?
Oh, yes, yes. Professor James Moriarty. The most dangerous criminal in England.
You think he's behind this? Well, why wasn't I told?
Oh, it's just Mr. Holmes's bee in the bonnet. I made some inquiries myself, you know.
About Moriarty?
Aye, Doctor. I went to see him.
Did you indeed?
And I'm bound to say that he struck me as a very respectable, learned and talented sort of man.
Oh, I'm glad you've got so far as to recognise the talent.
Oh, man, you can't help but recognise it. I had a chat with him about eclipses.
Eclipses? Was that what you wanted to chat with him about?
Well, no, it wasn't. To be truthful with you, how the talk got that way, I can't think.
Yeah.
But somehow it did. And I'll tell you, he had out a reflector, lantern and a globe, and he made it all seem clear to me in a minute.
Eclipses. Something dark concealing something light. Moriarty's mirror image and explained with a reflector lantern. He was playing with you.
He lent me a book on the subject too, but I don't mind saying it was a bit over my head. But his whole manner, it struck me he'd have made a grand minister of the kirk.
Dear God.
I'm telling you, Mr. Holmes, when he put his hand on my shoulder as we were parting, it was like a father's blessing before you go out into the cold, cruel world.
The man's a genius. Mr. Mac, James Moriarty sits at the centre of a web that stretches across the entire criminal world.
But you have no proof, man.
He draws checks on 6 different banks. He owns priceless works of art, and he pays his chief of staff £6,000 a year.
That's more than the Prime Minister gets.
The professor's official salary is $700 per annum.
But how can this professor be connected with this affair?
Look.
What is it?
It's what we've been waiting for.
There's a light in the study.
Someone's moving about. Can you see who it is?
No, wait.
I still can't see.
Is that a gun?
No. A grappling hook.
Fishing, is it?
There. What is it? Now, come on! Good evening, Mr. Cecil Barker.
What the devil's the meaning of this? What do you all want?
That's what we want. That bundle you've just fished up from the bottom of the moat.
How in thunder do you know about that?
I know about it because I put it there.
You, Mr. Holmes.
Perhaps I should say replaced it there. I fished it up myself last night with the aid of Dr. Watson's excellent umbrella.
How did you know it was there in the first place?
The missing dumbbell. Very good, Watson. The missing dumbbell. The crucial clue. You'll find it weighing down this interesting catch. There. 1 pair of boots, American, you'll note. 1 grey tweed suit with a reefer jacket. And 1 yellow overcoat.
What did I tell you? He's not coming.
Mr. Barker, I seem to be standing in the way of your explanation.
If you know so much, Mr. Holmes, perhaps you'd better tell us some more.
I could tell you a great deal more, but it would come with a better grace from you.
Oh, you think so, do you?
Yes, I do.
And he's not the only one. Are you going to explain this or not?
If there's a secret here, it's not mine to tell.
Oh, that's your line, is it? Mr. Cecil Barker, I'm arresting you.
You can do what you damn well like.
No, Cecil.
Ivy!
Don't make it worse for yourself. You've done enough for us without that.
Enough and more than enough.
Mrs. Douglas, are you ill?
It's this room. I'll be all right.
Madam, I urge you to take the police completely into your confidence.
Yes. Yes, I shall. But not here.
Which is the correct room?
Mr. Holmes?
I knew we couldn't fool you. The dining room. Let's go into the dining room.
You came then? Of course. You brought the money? Show me this proof. Come through.
Well, where is he? Where's Bertie Edwards?
He's here, Councillor. I am Bertie Edwards.
Here.
Thank you, Doctor.
Now, will somebody please tell me what all this is about?
Aye. Come along now, Mrs. Douglas. Tell us everything.
Well...
One moment.
What is it now?
Simply this. I think it might be best for all concerned if we were to ask someone else to tell the story.
What?
Don't you agree, Mr. Douglas?
Good God.
Gentlemen, my name is Jack Douglas.
Make a single move and the next bullet won't be for the ceiling. My men are all around this house.
And you gentlemen are well and truly under arrest.
I've heard of you. Sherlock Holmes.
At your service.
And you too, John H. Watson?
Mr. Douglas.
You're the historian of this bunch, isn't that right? Well, I'd lay my last dollar you've never had a story like mine pass through your hands before. There. I've spent the last few days in that rat trap putting it into words. You're welcome to it. You and your public.
Move on there. And keep those hands where we can see them.
Come on, move. Keep moving. You damn traitor, McMurdo.
Well, I guess you can call me that if it eases your pain, Jack McGinty.
I can call you more than that. I can call you murderer. Captain, this man's responsible for the death of Chester Wilcox and his whole family.
And how is that so? Then how can it be that I saw Wilcox and his brood alive and well only this afternoon?
What?
I made sure they were all well away before I blew their house, McGinty. Just as I made sure a lot of other jobs went wrong.
You were there when old Stanger got taught a lesson. That makes you an accomplice.
I stopped Baldwin from kicking the man to death. That makes me something else, I'm thinking.
Aye. It makes you something special right enough. Something very special. Why, you get
Not one more word out of you, Baldwin.
Brothers!
Or you, Councillor McGinty.
If any one of you escapes the noose, you know what you have to do. I've said all I have to say. Get me away from this filthy traitor!
Sergeant!
All right, move! Move! Come on.
You okay? My God, Andrew. I wouldn't go through those months again for 10 times the money.
You got those devils, and that's what counts.
Yes, I got them. But I had to go to hell to do it. Come on. Let's finish the job.
Many extra men of the Coal and Iron Police had been brought in secret into the small township of Vermissa for that night's work. Lodge 341 was soon no more. In the early hours of the next morning, a beautiful woman and a young man, fresh-faced, large-eyed and smiling, could be seen at the small hut which served as Vermissa's railroad station.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew you could never be like them. Oh, John.
Oh, my love.
The special train sent by the railroad company made a swift, unbroken journey away from the land of coal, iron, clank and roar. It was the last time Etty Shafter and her lover ever set foot in the Valley of Fear. Ten days later, they were married, with old Jacob Shafter as witness of the wedding. The trial of the Scarers was held far away from any place where their adherents might have terrified the guardians of the law. The work of Bertie Edwards was complete.
That's the past, Mr. Douglas. What we want is your story of the present.
No, wait. Just wait. Are you truly Jack Douglas of Burleston Manor?
I am, sir. Leastways, I am now.
Then whose death have we been investigating these last 2 days?
And where the devil did you spring out from?
Mr. Mack, you wouldn't read that excellent pamphlet.
The history of the house. Of course.
Yes, it really is very informative. The architecture, the design, the gardens, the various owners, the concealment of King Charles during the Civil War.
Apparently, your people didn't hide in those days without reliable places to hide in.
And a bolt hole that's been used once can be used again. How long have you been playing this trick on us, Mr. Holmes?
Yes, how long have you let us waste our time and our efforts on a wild goose chase?
Not for one instant. It was only last night that I knew for sure that the dead man wasn't Jack Douglas, but your elusive cyclist. And that Douglas was almost certainly still in the house, waiting for quieter times and his chance to slip away.
Well, you figured it out right.
So is this still a murder investigation, or isn't it?
Mr. Douglas?
I don't know how I stand under your law, but I'll tell you this. There's been nothing in this business I wouldn't do again. And I think the same goes for Ivy and Cecil there.
We've done nothing we're ashamed of.
Nothing.
It all comes down to this. There are men who have good cause to hate me. They hunted me from Chicago to California, and they chased me out of America. But when I moved here and settled down with a new name and a new life, I thought they'd never find me. Well, I was wrong.
You saw one of these men when you went into Tunbridge Wells.
The worst of them all. But I know my business, Mr. Holmes. I made sure he didn't see me.
You came back here and waited for him to track you down.
I did. It happened a damn sight sooner than I was expecting. Still careless, Baldwin. Still careless. You see, I'd seen his boots under the curtain as soon as I came into the room. I don't know if it was him or me pulled the trigger. Maybe it was both of us together. Anyway, he got both barrels full in the face. He may have escaped the noose 20 years ago, but justice had caught up with him at last.
Were you the first on the scene, Mr. Barker?
I was. That much was true, at least.
Good God in heaven!
John, what's happening?
Ivy, don't come in!
You did see the body. No wonder you couldn't bear to be in the room just now.
Yes, I saw it. I don't think I'm ever going to get that sight out of my head.
Come on, my love. Sit down now.
Oh, Jack, for God's sake, what's happening?
I'll tell you everything, I swear. I should have done it years ago, but not now. Are you going to be all right up here on your own?
That man, who was he? My God, who shot him? Was it you? Jack, was it you?
Ivy, listen, I've got to go and sort this out.
We must send for the police.
No, not yet.
Why not? Jack, I want to know what this all means.
You shall, but not now.
Yes, now. Tell me now.
I'll tell you this much. It's over. At last, it's over. I'd already had the idea. Yeah, I seemed to see it all clear at a glance. His height and weight were much the same as mine. No one could swear to his face, poor devil. And of course, he had the mark. The brand of the Scourers.
You exchanged clothes and therefore identities.
All except for my wedding ring. It would have taken a file to get it off. I was glad. That ring's all I've got left of my first wife. She died of the typhoid just a few years after we married. I'd not have given it to Ted Baldwin, even if it cost me the whole game.
You changed clothes and went and hid in the priest hole, and left your accomplice to do the rest.
It was simple enough. The footprint, the card, the shotgun.
The dead man's clothes, you bundled them up.
And got rid of them in the quickest, easiest place you could think of. The moat.
Man, if you hadn't used the dumbbell, we might never have been on to you.
And then, with everybody else safely out of the way, you rang for the servants.
But what about the housekeeper's evidence?
Perfectly genuine. Mrs. Douglas?
Cecil, Mr. Barker, gave me a signal and I came down the stairs again. I had to pretend that I'd just heard the shot.
Which you did well enough. It was your willingness to be led away from your husband's body that was less convincing.
So the murder, the shooting, actually happened quite a bit earlier than the servants thought.
Half an hour or so. It's not easy undressing a dead man.
Well, that's it. It seemed to me that all I had to do was lie low for a while, then I could get away someplace. Ivy could come out and be with me, and we could finally live at peace. A new life in a new land. That's the truth. The whole truth, so help me God. Now, what are you going to do with me?
Writing it up?
Getting my notes in order.
You're not using Douglas's own words?
More or less. But I gave him his manuscript back.
Oh.
I thought he ought to have it. It's an historic sort of document.
Well, I suppose so.
Certainly a splendid story. And with the right ending, too. Killing in self-defense. And just a mild warning about trying to deceive the police. Very satisfactory. Anything interesting in the post?
What?
Ah, that's how this whole business started, isn't it? Holmes? What's wrong?
They were on the Palmyra, bound for South Africa. A new life in a new land.
And?
Look at this.
My God.
Lost overboard in a calm sea.
No one knows how the accident occurred.
Accident?
Are you saying the Scourers did it?
Not the Scourers, Moriarty.
Moriarty? I'm sorry. I just don't see how he can be connected to all this.
The Scourers needed someone to track down Douglas for them.
And this Moriarty can be hired?
Yes, he's a consultant. His services can be bought just like any other consultants.
But even if you're right, the Scourers had their own assassin. Moriarty wasn't employed to kill Douglas.
Well, maybe not, but his power rests on his reputation. He can't afford to be linked to a failure. Besides, he's a mathematician. Mathematics is a precise science. Moriarty can't tolerate untidiness.
Dear God. And so he murdered him.
With my help.
What?
I killed Jack Douglas as surely as if I pushed him myself.
Oh, that is utter nonsense.
His plan was a good one. Mason and MacDonald would have accepted things at face value. Douglas's death would have been reported, and that would have been an end to it. If I hadn't insisted on solving the case out of triumph for Sherlock Holmes.
Rubbish! If this Moriarty's as good as you say, he wouldn't have relied on newspaper reports. He'd have found out the truth for himself, even if you'd done nothing. The outcome would have been exactly the same.
I should have protected him, made him understand the danger.
Good God, Holmes! You're not some kind of infallible machine. You mustn't do this to yourself. You mustn't. Besides, you can't be sure, can you? Not absolutely sure. It may truly have been an accident.
The report's just come in, sir. A good, clean job. No complications. Nothing out of the ordinary in the luggage, except this. Some sort of manuscript. The Colonel thought you'd like to see it.
Thank you. My life in the Valley of Fear. I shall read it with pleasure. You may go.
Good night, Professor.
Good night. It was the 4th of February in the year 1875, and the snow lay deep in the gorges of the Gilmerton Mountains. This is the most desolate corner of the United States of America.
No, it was him. I can tell a Moriarty when I see one. And do we just have to sit down under this? Can no one get level with this man? No, I don't say that. I don't say that he can't be beaten. But you must give me time. You must give me time.
In Episode 2 of The Valley of Fear by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes was played by Clive Merrison and Dr. Watson by Michael Williams. John McMurdo, Ian Glenn. Inspector MacDonald, Mark Bonner. White Mason, Timothy Bateson. Ivy Douglas, Becky Hindley. Cecil Barker, Gavin Muir. Etty Shafter, Amanda Gordon. Jack McGinty, Constantine Gregory. Ted Baldwin, Stephen Critchlow. Mike Scanlon, Peter Gunn. Captain Marvin, Jonathan Keeble. Ronald Pickup was Professor Moriarty. Other parts were played by members of the cast. The pianist was Michael Haslam. The violinist, Abigail Young. The Valley of Fear was dramatized for radio by Bert Coules and directed by Enyd Williams.